Good afternoon, everyone. Where does the GOP go from here in light of recent events? The paleocons are not going to keep the White House. They have lost the election for the GOP. Yes, they won in 2016. But now it is 4 years later, and we are closely approaching Biden's inaugural election day. We have lost, unfortunately, not just a chance at winning the House back, we also lost the Senate. The Senate has now been split between the Democrats and the Republicans, 50-50, which means now that the soon-to-be Vice President, Kamala Harris, will break any ties in favor of the current administration. With the Democrats in control of both the House and the Senate and the presidency, they now have 2 years to pass and put forward any legislation that they wish, any acts that they wish. And unlike Republicans in 2016 to 2018, I do not believe that the Democrats will waste any time in getting their measures through. They will essentially run to the finish line. They will do everything they can to push forward their agendas. And some of these agendas I greatly fear. Although I support Representative Paul Gosar's and Senator Ted Cruz's audit of the Arizona vote, even if all of Representative Gosar's dreams come true, it still does not change that Biden, Harris, and the Democrats have unfortunately swept the field. This has been a disaster for the GOP. Even if all Republican dreams come true in Arizona, with the electoral votes being challenged there, it won't change Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, or any other state that we lost. President Trump, unfortunately, cannot win with AZ alone. President Trump has lost. An audit is obviously necessary to allay voter concerns over the electoral process, but also to find and fix any potential vulnerabilities in our electoral process that the CCP or the Kremlin could exploit. We have to prevent the CCP and the Kremlin from infiltrating or creating problems with or hacking our electoral process. However, while I'm sure there will be issues here and there that will be found and most likely addressed, should this audit be successful, I don't believe the result will be any different. We lost, and Biden unfortunately won. As a neoconservative, I'm concerned about what a Biden administration will do with Iran. The Iran deal, better named the Iran Steal, was a disaster, and re-entering the deal would be akin to if Neville Chamberlain had refused to issue an ultimatum to Hitler when he invaded Poland. I'm concerned what a Biden administration will do with the DPRK and Kim Jong-un, or as we call him, Chimichanga, in regards to his expanding North Korea's nuclear and military arsenal. The Obama administration did very little to stop North Korea from expanding its arsenal. I'm also concerned about what a Biden administration will do with the CCP. The CCP have successfully elite captured several high ranking Democratic Party members, such as Senator Feinstein, and who could forget the recent controversy with Swalwell? However, the Trump administration failed to deal with these national security threats also. Chimichanga isn't dead. The Ayatollahs in Tehran aren't running scared. And the CCP are laughing at our internal strife, as is the Kremlin. We are now faced with an administration who will be soon in power that failed to fully deal with the enemies of freedom or ignored them and enabled them. In the case of Iran, and the current administration failed to deal with those problems adequately enough too. The time of the paleoconservative rule is ending, and we have seen that paleoconservative populists, yes, can win. But as for whether they can keep winning, that is another matter altogether. This means that perhaps maybe their rhetoric may sound good, but their failure and their policies haven't worked. They haven't worked with Iran, they haven't worked with North Korea, and they haven't worked with the CCP or the Kremlin. The GOP is now left in a position where it must go now. Trump will be leaving office. The president has lost. And so now this means the GOP must start again and say, where do we go from here? As the GOP begins to have an identity crisis, we neoconservatives now need to step in and fill the gap. The time for neoconservative inaction is over. The time for neoconservative action is now. The old way of doing things is dead. We have to focus on the here and now. Talk on social media isn't going to cut it. It's time for grassroots action to turn the direction of the GOP to a neoconservative position. This also means taking some of the principles that we neoconservatives had adopted prior and changing them. We need to be more protectionist. Canada, the United States, Mexico, the EU, and NATO, and democratic nations must adopt a protectionist policy when it comes to trade with the CCP, with the Kremlin, with Iran, with any despotic regime. This also means that we need to push for stronger red lines that we enforce against Bashar al-Assad, Bashar the Butcher, and Chimichanga. Red lines that we do not then give up on later after they are crossed. Red lines that we hold and that we will enforce with military force. We also need to move in a direction where we are pushing the GOP to demand for striking Iran's military assets and proxies in the Middle East, like Hezbollah, like the Muslim Brotherhood, like the Houthis, and like Bashar al-Assad. We also need to move in a direction where we are not allowing the Kremlin to engage in aggressive action in Europe, such as in the Ukraine, where they have illegally assisted in separatists there, and where they have also in Belarus assisted a dictator in maintaining power. Weak-willed, isolationist, dictator-loving, sympathizing policies aren't going to cut it. The GOP needs a new direction. Neo-conservatism A freedom-first policy is what the GOP needs now. Freedom first must be the new calling card for the GOP. We have to fight against the isolationists on the left and the right, like Kremlin Kyle and 6% Cenk, and all those others like Jimmy Dore, who enable our enemies abroad. It is time for neoconservatives to beat the drums and march out and take back the GOP. We have to adopt an anti-communist position. We have to force the GOP to take on the CCP strongly, to say that we will not stand for the CCP, that we will not stand for their aggression, and we will not stand for their expansionism, that we will stand up for Taiwan. We also need to push for more protectionism against the CCP and stop sending our trade and our economy over to our enemies who use the profits to enrich themselves and to empower themselves and to oppress others, as they are doing in Hong Kong. The GOP must take a strong stance now. We must be the party of the war hawks. We have to force the GOP to take the hawk pill. Enough is enough. Thank you for listening. I appreciate your time. Please like and subscribe on YouTube, subscribe to Twitch, subscribe to my Twitter, and come and take the hawk pill with me. Enjoy the ghoul game. Death to all tyrants. Vive la liberté. Thank you.